This is that stuff that no one really talks about when it comes to buying cheap welders, is all the fiddle farting around you have to do to make them work. The first weld with a $220 TIG welder. I've never used a welder this cheap. By a mile. Here goes nothing. Hey. You good?
I'm rolling.
Oh, okay.
Hey, kids.
Hello. Guys, we've done it again. We got sent some cheap offshore metal fabrication equipment, and we're skeptical, but excited, and we're gonna take you with us. You guys have seen the Anvil video, you've seen the Mag Drill video, both of those from VEVOR, and honestly, both things that I'm very pleased with.
They did better than we expected.
So VEVOR they're in my good graces within the context of what they are. So my contact at VEVOR, every time we do a video, they express their excitement, and then we talk about what they want to send next, which is a fun sort of partnership to have. And I had a wish list, and I sent the wish list to them, and they said, whether it's true or not, most of it was out of stock and not in their quote marketing program. So this was pitched to me, and the first thing I said was no thank you, because I don't see it serving a purpose in the shop given the equipment that we have. But she was persistent, and so I said, sure, we'll get a video out of it. So with that clue given out, today we'll be looking at the VEVOR 210 amp TIG welder, TIG, 3-in-1, 110, 220 volt, dual voltage, high frequency TIG stick clean welding machine with pulse.
That's a
There's
lot.
more, but it ran off the table. This is a $227 TIG welder, DC only, no AC, no aluminum or all that.
Which is the vast majority of what anybody would be using. That would be steel, stainless steel, all that.
Maybe even titanium if you put the right cup on it. But obviously it's a TIG welder that fits in a box this size. So my hopes are, well, hampered. But I'm excited to see, I made Walker laugh. I never really pull the trigger on machines this cheap because we try to operate as professionals, and you get what you pay for usually. And if it's something that I'm building a business around, I'm gonna spend the money.
Yeah.
I mean, I just pulled the trigger on a $4,000 bandsaw, so buy once, cry once is for sure my modus operandi. Did I say that right? Close enough.
I think it's small. So so Tay is overly tall, and I am overly girthy. So I don't know if I can give you an idea how big this is.
How big is the box?
18 by 11 and a quarter by just under 15. So
There's
it's
a welder in there,
not
apparently.
a big box at all. And I'm like
For reference,
MIG
my welder with no accessories, just the machine, would not
bigger.
fit in a box this size.
Not at all. Neither mine. And the weld mark that we got from Arc 3, it's small. There's things that are more dinky about it, but on the other hand, it does work.
Our goal, other than just reviewing this cheap ass welder, is going to be, where does it deserve to occupy space within the world of welders out there, right? It's obviously at the bottom of the price point. In fact, I own a $700 TIG welder, and I own a $2,500 TIG welder. And I think one of the more interesting things to do with this would be, can it hold a flame to either of the ones we're used to using? And is just because that one's 10 times more expensive, is it 10 times better than this one?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it will be. But nonetheless, now that you guys are here and we're all here, want to open it?
Yep.
Let's see what we got.
What are you expecting to see?
I know what it looks like.
Let me rephrase that.
Well, I hope there's a welder in here.
What are you expecting that they cut corners on in order to make this price point?
Well, for starters, I'm sure the internals are quite cheap. It's
Yeah.
going to be like control board, motherboard type thing. TIG welders don't have moving parts.
Yeah.
So you can make it a cheaper TIG welder is gonna be probably more reliable than a cheap MIG welder, because MIGs have wire feed and
rollers and everything.
All that.
I'm curious what the gas connections.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a hose and hose clamp type situation. Now, duty cycle is probably gonna be quite low.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to run this thing at full power for that long.
Yeah.
But let's get into it.
I'm also excited to see the translated
Yeah,
manual.
yeah, we get to see another poorly broken English instruction manual. I guess that's for the gas hose.
That looks like it's for the gas hose.
Smell that. Smells like
swimming pool?
Import.
Yeah.
The VEVOR Digital TIG Welder Series User Manual.
Oh, here's your favorite part.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, we got a bag with accessories.
Goodies. Can I open the bag?
Yeah.
Can I open the bag? Can I open the bag?
Yeah.
It looks like a nice bag, but it's not.
Look at this. This is the dual voltage. Yeah, you can plug the thing into here and run it off of 110.
Oh.
It's actually kind of nice.
That's
There's a TIG torch.
cool.
Yeah, it looks like a toiletry bag. Yeah. You get consumables. That's actually pretty nice.
You even get
Get a piece of tungsten.
That's not broken.
Oh, I'm throwing parts everywhere already.
Yeah, there's your hose clamp.
Hose clamps. There's a welder in there. Holy crap, there's a gas lens.
No way.
A Pyrex gas lens. This thing weighs nothing. Well, the massive cups are usually for like titanium and stainless, like the real sensitive metals.
But I hear a lot of people like the big one, the clear ones, so that you can actually see your tungsten.
You can see the puddle better, yeah, for sure.
What a weird switch. So floppy, but I kind of like it.
There's actually a surprising amount of functionality on the front of this. You know what is surprising to see is an actual gas hookup, and the way this is made, this tells me there's actually a solenoid in here that triggers the gas. So what is TIG welding for the uninitiated? Well, it's tungsten inert gas welding, which means your torch will have a tungsten electrode in it, and the inert gas in question is 100% argon usually, and welding means that you're melting metal together, TIG. So this is essentially a fancy high amperage DC power supply with a brain and a gas flow solenoid. So I'm honestly impressed with the amount of stuff it came. The TIG torch that came with it actually has a switch on it.
It's got 3 different size collets too.
And is of reasonable quality, except for the fact that the
tungsten is minuscule.
There's a chunk of rubber in the hole. There we go. That's out there now. It's a WP26, so it's a 26 series torch, which is the beefier of the TIG torches. There's probably bigger ones in the 26 series, but this is on the bigger side of things. Yeah, it's like actually branded VEVOR, and that's like a silk screen print. That's just not like a sticker, which all that means is they made their own outer shell, probably.
It is capable of welding rods with thickness of 1/16 inch, 1.6 millimeter, 3/32, 2.4 millimeter, and 1/8, 3.2 millimeter. It looks like we just have the 1/16, which is the 1 point. It's got this labeled in metric, 1.6. I'd be willing to bet this tungsten is crap.
Let's see what kinds of noises it makes. It blew some styrofoam out the front. So we can make the number go up to 210, but I am very skeptical that it would actually put out 210 amps. And if it does, for how long? Probably not very long. But looks like we've got a few options. We've got the TIG setting. We can change our amps, post-flow, pre-flow, and that's it. There's actually pulse. I'm very surprised to see a pulse function on here. So you can change pulse, peak on time as a percentage, and then pulse frequency, how many pulses per second. You can go down to half a pulse per second, which means a pulse every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's pretty long. Already, this thing has more features than the first TIG welder I ever bought, which is this Eastwood TIG 200 AC/DC here.
You've used that for years.
I've had this welder for like 6 or 7 years. Now this one does do AC, and you can weld aluminum with this thing. And this was $750, almost 3 times the cost of this.
And that's still a really good price for that thing.
Yeah. Anything below $1,000 is a good price. While he's hooking things up, let's read. Oh no, this one's written well. Each TIG welding machine is equipped with a power supply cable. It is used to connect to power supply.
Whoa.
Use multimeter to check whether the voltage changes within the given range. I will not be doing that. Connection of the argon arc welding torch, period. Install the gas electric integrated connector of the welding torch to the corresponding interface on the welding machine panel and tighten it by turning clockwise. Tells you how to screw things together. Yeah, I assume these would be somewhat helpful if you've never ever had a TIG welder before. There's also some clues on the front. There's pictures here. So you have a picture of the TIG torch, so you know where to plug that in. You have a picture of the ground clamp, and it actually does have a dense connector, so it's just a twist, push and twist kind of thing. So you've got a ground clamp there. Clamp that to your table. Wyatt's putting on the accessories, which is his favorite thing to do when we get cheap Chinese tools. And then I get to tell him how useless they are, and we'll end up taking them off. That looks like a cup holder.
It does.
It does.
This is actually a pretty good wrap. They have a sleeve on this cable of some sort of vinyl material. It came pre-installed with the trigger. That's nice. That's usually something I have to do. And even on fancy machines, you'll see people zip tie the triggers to them. So that is not a cheap thing. You change stuff around so often that you don't really want to modify. And these are really cinched down. I usually like to leave the zip ties loose so you can move that trigger around depending on which finger you want to actuate it with. Yeah, it seems like a 10-foot lead. Ground is about maybe 8 or 6 foot. Comes with a long back cap. Comes with a short back cap. These are standard cups. We've got a number 6, a number 4, and a number 5. So you've got 3 different sizes of cups, and you pretty much pick these depending on the size of the weld joint that you're doing. Number 6 is good for most stuff. I've never really felt the need to use something that small, but I don't do any sort of micro welding, so.
So how are those numbers again? Every number is like 1/8 of an inch in diameter?
No, I think it's millimeters of the inside of here. At least that's what it looks like, but I don't know.
I'll put it on the screen right now.
Yeah, what the numbers on a TIG cup means.
Mm-hmm. All right, see if that holder holds it.
How in the hell?
Yeah, what? Is there a picture?
Here is main parameter.
Which one?
It's 100, it can run off 110 volt or 220 volt. Output current range, 30 amps to 210 amps with stick. With TIG, it can go down to 10 amps on the low side. Duty cycle is 30%. Duty cycle is one of those weird units, but essentially it means that for any given amount of time that you're using it, you can only run it at full bore for 30% of that time, kind of. If someone's gonna correct me, and honestly, thank you, because I've never fully understood duty cycle. It's IP21, which is some sort of protection, whether it's dust resistance or something. This is what IP21 means. Comes with the WP26 welding torch with fine glass mouth, including, no, that is not fine. That is,
course,
whatever the opposite of fine is. Ground wire clamp, power plug conversion cable. Right, so this thing runs off of 220 or 110. So everybody's wall voltage is 110, at least here in the United States.
It's really like 123, 120.
And this is the standard 210 single phase welder plug. This is the extension cord I have.
220, AKA 240.
You're gonna do this for everything I say?
If you say things wrong, then yes.
It's 210. 220. Okay, you're right. The welder's a 210. So it comes with this conversion piece, so you can plug this in and then plug this into the wall. Yeah, you definitely can't run it.
It's going to change the duty cycle most of anything.
Well, and power. Even though you can set this at 210 amps. Oh, it has that quick scroll feature that mine does. That's cool. So you can fine tune it by scrolling, or you can push in and it jumps 10 units at a time. The one thing it doesn't seem to come with is a gas regulator. We have this tubing, probably bought from a fish aquarium store. That goes on there, like that. Jake's regulator would work. See, look at this. That's hilarious. This is a $5,000 welder, and it came with the same sort of thing. So I guess I can't crap on it too bad, because if it gets the gas where it's supposed to go, I guess it works. It really is mind-blowing that you can get this much stuff for $220.
Yeah. This is comparable to my machine. Mine is the Invertech 210 or 200 or something like that, 205, whatever.
You say comparable, but I don't believe you.
Oh, it's totally not, because mine was
It's marketed
AC.
as a comparable machine.
I got AC, I can do all the aluminum, I can do everything.
That's what they want you to think, though. I mean, because they use that 210, right? The amperage is a big part of what markets a welder, right? Is it my Everlast over there, the $2,500 machine? That is a 210 EXT. Yeah. The Miller Dynasty is also a 210 or 220. So that amperage rating is very important, but the duty cycle is the more important part. How long can you sustain at that amperage? Well, A, can it even put out that amperage? And B, if so, how long can it sustain max amperage? This Eastwood TIG 200 behind me was the first TIG welder I ever bought, and that was after a pretty significant amount of research. But from a $750, I've beat the crap out of this thing and welded. I mean, I worked, the last few years I was at Black Dog, this was our main TIG welder. Before I bought that Eastwood, it was the one that I used here at Lift Arc for, actual projects. Yeah. And this is $750, was $750. Yeah. I think they still have, it might be about $1,000 now, but
compared to...
so that's as low as I think you should go without having used this yet. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to know that like something the size of a shoebox isn't going to perform like something with a significantly higher build weight and build quality and whatever. I think usually for a TIG welder, that $500 to $600 range is usually the floor. So this is significantly undercutting most of the cheaper TIG welding competitors out there. So if it can do anything respectable, it's pretty impressive given the price point. And that seems to be like the underlying point to all this VEVOR stuff, is like you have to look at it through the lens of the price point, because it's so cheap that if it functions at all similarly to the 10 times equivalent price, product it's competing against, it's pretty impressive. But again, we haven't used it yet.
Miller MaxStar 210.
That's the DC version, yeah.
Right, 120 to 480 volts input.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying. So this one only does the 120 to 240. But this one, $4,513. So that's right off of Miller's website. Everything else is the better ones.
And this does pulse and a function called clean.
The sinker waves are the big boys.
Yeah, the synchro waves are the transformer machines.
So $4,500 for the new Miller version. So if you compare that to even the Eastwood, it's like kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. I also think it's probably worthwhile pointing out the control panel difference. This is the welder we'll be putting it up against. This is an Eastwood 210 EXT TIG welder inverter machine. This one runs about $2,500, or at least it did. I think you can get it for $2,000, but by the time you buy the torches you want and the bottle of gas, just call it $2,500. And so this is the interface that I'm used to working with. And here's the one on the VEVOR. You can tell it's not too far off. So the main differences are there's a lot more control. This one has AC, right? So you have a whole section for AC balance and the cleaning. You can also change this one from high frequency to lift arc TIG. This one has a gas purge button, all kinds of other controls for pulse, where this one has pulse, which is really surprising. Most machines this price point I wouldn't imagine would have pulse. This one has a memory bank of 9 presets. It has 3 different AC waveforms along with DC. It has settings for pedal. I don't know that this machine was meant to, or is meant to use a pedal, because the pedal has more than just on off. The pedal has a whole variation. So I'm not sure if this thing is made to accept that sort of input. But you can see that they're very similar as far as function. Most TIG machines have sort of a pictogram of what the electrical wave looks like, or some sort of the whole journey. You have the start, the upslope, welding amps, things you change about it while it's welding, and then a downslope and end amp. So this one doesn't have upslope or downslope, but it does have pre-flow and post-flow, which is the gas can come on a little bit before the arc is struck so that it's clean. And then the gas can run after you stop the arc so that it keeps the tungsten from getting oxidized, and it keeps your weld metal from oxidizing before it cools down. And then there's the obvious size difference. But anyway, coming up, we are going to put this $250 welder up against a $2,500 welder, 10 times the cost, and we'll see how it does.
The phenomena listed here may be related to accessories, gases, environmental factors, and power supply conditions. Please try to improve the environment to avoid the situations. Black solder joints. We bought a welder, not a solderer. No, we didn't. They sent us a welder,
Yeah,
not
I
a
don't even think
solderer.
they make solderers.
I just love it how they call it solder joints.
Bad translation. Look at that crazy gas lens. You're in Pyrex cup. It's probably not actually Pyrex. So a gas lens is meant to focus the gas flow into a column versus spraying out. This is enormous though. This is probably a number 15.
I thought a 16 was 1 inch.
16, yeah, you might be right.
So a number 4 in that thought process should be a 1/4 inch. Yeah, it's 1/4 inch. So each number is a 16th in diameter.
Oh, so each number is a 16th of an inch.
Yeah.
That's an inch and an eighth. So this is 18.
18.
Cool. To run a cup like this, you need to run your gas at like 35 CFH, and you're just blowing through argon at that point. But if you're welding titanium, you want a lot of gas coverage. So curious to see how well that works. We might be rather surprised.
Might be. Well, we were surprised with the mag drill,
Yeah.
and surprised with the Anvil, right?
We haven't used it yet, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so coming up next, we're gonna beat the living crap out of this thing.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Hello, we're back. Just like that. See how fast that was? What I'm doing is setting up the Everlast 210 and the VEVOR 210, and with the same torch. So this came with a 26 series torch and set up for 16th inch electrodes. So I'm setting up my Everlast with the exact same torch, a 26 series torch, standard cup, number 6 cup, 16th inch electrode. I've got the same electrode in both. I've got a gray serrated tungsten in each one, so those should be identical. All right, so it's time for the shootout. Again, we are comparing the $220 VEVOR TIG 210P to the $2,500 Everlast 210 EXT. We're gonna be comparing the DC settings because obviously the VEVOR doesn't do AC, but it does do pulse, so I'd like to try that out as well. But for starters, I've got them all set up the same. So this is the VEVOR torch. The funny thing is it looks identical to the torch that was sent with my Everlast. I would be willing to bet that they come out of the same factory. But it's a 26 series torch. I've got a standard cup and collet on there, a number 6 cup, long back cap, a full length sharpened gray serrated tungsten, 16th inch tungsten. And it's got the trigger, my Everlast torch, I don't have a trigger on this torch, so I'll just be using the foot pedal as a switch, but I'll leave it on 2T mode so I don't get any of the foot pedal. It'll be wide open anytime I hit the foot pedal. So effectively they should be the same. I've got some little gussets here, piece of flat bar. I'm just gonna, do some inside corner joints and maybe a lap joint. We'll see how it all looks. I only have one bottle of argon, so I gotta switch regulators in between. So we will start with the Everlast as a control since it's hooked up, and then we'll switch regulators and do the VEVOR. We'll be welding at 150 amps for both, just because I don't think the 16th inch electrodes can handle much more than that. In fact, we might bump it down to like 125, because it'll blow these electrodes apart. I could put 3/16 electrodes in there, but to be honest with you, I am kind of out. So we're just gonna use 16th inch. I'm gonna shoot for about 15 CFH. That's okay. And because we're using 16th inch electrodes, I'll be using some 16th inch ER70S2 filler wire for mild steel. All right, so I'm gonna start by just doing, this is 1/8 inch plate, all this is 1/8 inch material. I'm just gonna do a little test weld on the flat part just to see how it feels. "150 amps is way too much. Let's go down to 100. Haven't welded with a normal cup in a while, so just trying to figure it out. I'm gonna bump up my gas flow. There it is. Better. All right, so let's tack this in place. Okay. All right, it's not my prettiest work, but it will certainly do. Right up against here. Looks pretty good. 100 amp inside corner joint worked okay. So now I'm gonna switch gears. I knew that would work because I use this welder all the time. Works great. I'm not the best TIG welder in the world, that should go without saying. The point of this is, can I make it look the same? Not, can I make it look perfect? Yeah. Shut up, nerds. I can just hear the people in the comments now, all the TIG welders, like, he didn't clean it enough. He's not using the right cup. If you use a Furic number 12 cup, FUPA cup, that's a thing. All right, so now we'll turn the Everlast off and we will turn the VEVOR on and we'll switch regulators. This is a MIG regulator, so it doesn't have a flow meter on it, so I'm just gonna have to guess. Oh wait, yeah, it does. What am I talking about? Yeah, and this hose doesn't fit perfectly, so there's gonna be some leakage. It's quieter than my Everlast, I'll say that. Come on. I'm losing argon at an alarming rate here. I don't have the right barb fitting for this. I hate barb fittings. This is a really cheap portion of this welder. I need a better hose clamp or something. Hold on. So the problem is, this is the hose that the VEVOR came with. And this is the only regulator in my shop that actually has a barb fitting on it. Most of them have some sort of proprietary AN style fitting. And this one's too small. So I have this one from a box of parts that should fit better, but I gotta take this off first, and it is not wanting to give up the goat here. This is that stuff that no one really talks about when it comes to buying cheap welders, is all the fiddle farting around you have to do to make them work. It's moving. Okay, got God, that was in there. Gotta love National Pipe Fittings. I'm sabotaging my buddy's welder just for you guys, okay? Don't ever say I didn't do anything for you in the interest of science. Yeah, the welder didn't come with a regulator, so you need to furnish your own. This one happens to be from a Miller, but you can get way cheaper ones, I'm sure. Much better fit.
No more leakage.
That's the idea anyway. Might be the cheapest hose clamp I've ever used in my life. There we go. A few 4 seconds of post flow, a little bit of pre-flow. Let's see what we get. The first weld with a $220 TIG welder. I've never used a welder this cheap. By a mile. Here goes nothing. Hey. It won't stop. Oh, it's in 4T mode. Got it. That's my fault. Well, it worked. That high frequency start sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I honestly can't believe it, but that looks pretty good. Let's try the same joint here. This 26 series torch is way too big for me, but. Already I'll say that the 100 amps on this feels a lot less than the 100 amps on my East. Ooh, it's a flex head.
Although, I will point out an interesting phenomenon that just happened.
Huh.
It seemed to have intercepted the radio frequencies, and both audio sources cut out.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they good now?
Yeah. As soon as you stop, they come back.
So this frequency of this welder is interfering with our microphones.
Yeah.
The other one didn't do that. All right, I'm gonna do the same joint with this one and see how it goes. I honestly can't believe how well this is working. Dude,
Yeah?
that's nuts. How do they do that? Look at. That's a $220 TIG welder. I'm thoroughly impressed. I honestly didn't think. I thought it was just going to be a hot mess. Look.
That's with the VEVOR?
Yeah, that's what the 200.
Wait.
This is with the Everlast. That's with the VEVOR $220 TIG welder. And that is with the Everlast, a $2,500 TIG welder. Same settings, same cup, same filler, same electrode, same gas, same power, same settings. Yeah, this one doesn't have an upslope or a downslope, which I'm used to on this. You know, you can ramp up slowly and then it'll taper off slowly, but other than that, me not being ready for that, I mean, it's the high frequency start works great. It's struck an arc super easy. I mean, hell, it's quieter than my Everlast. Extremely portable. Dude, they keep doing it. The Chinese really got something going on here. Well, I need more tungsten. I only have 16th inch tungsten. If I start, it's weird that they shipped this 26 series torch, which is rated for over 200 amps, but they gave us a 16th inch tungsten. That doesn't make any sense. Most of what you're supposed to run in this would be like an 1/8 inch, something big. But no, I don't really feel the need to push it, because if that weld sucked, I would have said, yeah, let's try to break it. But that's a good weld. Now this is something I want to keep and in decent working condition in case we need a small field DC TIG welder. What I would like to do real quick is try the pulse. So this is going to have an automatic sort of on-off deal. Like that. Dude, how do they make a $220 welder with a pulse setting? See, with pulse, now we can crank it up. Pulse allows you to control your heat a lot better. You can keep heat out of the part. And we'll do a half a pulse a second. It's so good. That's crazy town. I wish I was lying to you, but I'm not. I can't believe I'm about to recommend a $220 TIG welder for a beginner, but that is an outstanding little machine for the price. A tenth of the cost of that. Now granted, it doesn't do AC, doesn't have upslope, downslope, doesn't have presets, there's no pedal. Yeah, you're not gonna do a long, heavy weld with it. It doesn't have lift arc, it's only high frequency, but high frequency is the best anyway. Thanks for watching this episode of Lift Arc Builds. Go buy a welder. Our affiliate link's below. Yeah. If you buy this thing, which again, I can't believe I'm recommending to, use the link here or below. We get a little kickback from that. See ya. That's so dumb. That shouldn't work that well. No. It feels like a child's toy. The torch connection looks like it's proprietary, but with plumbing, there's, I'm sure, all sorts of adapting you can do. But the ground clamp and the stick clamp are dense connectors, so those are standard. If you could somehow figure out who makes this connection, and then be able to adapt to something else, like if I could put my 17 series flex head on here, I'd use this every day. And TIG is nice, you can TIG weld in somebody's house. It doesn't throw sparks all over the place. Let's call it $100 for the regulator, $100 for the gas, $350 on top of this. You're still right at 500 bucks.
You get everything under the price of just the body of the welder.
Yeah. 500 bucks to start actually welding versus my my Eastwood, which is the cheapest one I bought, was $750 for just the machine. Cool.
Yeah, from a uninformed, I could not tell you the difference. Like
no.
If you handed this to me and told me that they were from two different welders, I would not be able to
Sure.
tell.
Well, and you know, on top of the machine, it's like human error too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a good enough welder to make it, you know, same speed, same height, same dip. I'm not gonna pick it apart. I was thinking about like how I was gonna trash it, but like for the price, it doesn't deserve any real criticism, I don't think. Yeah, that's it, man. I was really expecting to trash this thing and have it fail and just not work. No idea how long it would hold up, and I'm not sure what VEVOR's like return policy is. Walker can put that here if there is one. That'd be the only thing. Like if it breaks, can I get a new one? I'm not even gonna pretend like there's gonna be replacement parts available, but there you go. The VEVOR TIG 210P. Go buy one.
That's all we can really say.
Yeah, until I'm sponsored by a welding company, I'm going to recommend this welder.
Yeah.
Well, now I can say, if anybody asks me where to start with a TIG welder, if your budget's that tight, it's hard not to recommend this. You know, from this you got Eastwood's versions, and then above that you've got, I used to know all the other budget welders. You've got Everlast, you know, I'm sure they make a DC only version that's probably around the $1,000, $1,500 mark. For a DC only TIG welder, you really shouldn't spend any more than $1,000. Because the only real benefit you get above that price point is AC aluminum welding, and then creature comforts. Spend money on a nice torch, spend money on good gas, spend money on a good gas regulator, spend money on good electrodes, and practice. I mean, this welder would pay for itself the very first fabrication job you do, if you're doing it for money. If you're charging less than $200 for any sort of like custom fab job, you're losing money anyway. T-shirts coming. I know I've said that a bunch. I need to spend a bunch of money here soon. Thinking long sleeves, maybe just short sleeves might be, since summer's coming. I haven't done short sleeves before, and that'd probably be a good call. And then if they sell well, come next fall, we'll do some long sleeves and maybe some hoodies. I use local printing shops. Shout out Press Merch. I don't want to order shirts from like, you know, Vista Print or Teespring or any of that crap. I want it to be something that I really like, which is why it takes so long. Like and subscribe. You can buy stickers right now on the website. So buy the heck out of some stickers. That does help. I can just throw those in the mail. Please like, please subscribe. Let VEVOR know you saw this on our channel. And if you work for a company that makes welding tools and equipment and you want me to look at it, by all means, send me one. I'd love to. This is your competition, unfortunately. See you guys. Cheers.